Good morning, everybody. It is Thursday. We have a great show for everyone today. What do we have, Krystal?
Indeed, we do. Lots to get to. Okay, we've got the results of that raid on Al-Shifa hospital, what the Israeli military is presenting, somewhat underwhelming thus far, but we will get into all of that. We also had a big meeting happening in California between Biden and Xi Jinping. The results from that also very interesting. We'll break that down for you. You've got new polling showing public support for Israel's war on Gaza plummeting as the number of people calling for a ceasefire in both parties is extraordinarily high. This comes as there was a real scene outside of the DNC headquarters last night. Jewish Voices for Peace and other protesters gathered there trying to block the entrances in what was originally a peaceful protest. Cops showed up and it went off the rails. A lot of competing claims about what happened. We will show you the video evidence of what actually unfolded. We also have been compiling these for a while, some of the most stunning misinformation to come out of this conflict. I'm sure you guys have seen some of this already, so we will break that down for you. Fact from fiction. Also got to get into Nikki Haley and some of the wild things she's wanting to do, getting some pushback on her desire to, I guess, dox everyone online. So we'll talk about that. We've also got new shots fired between Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro over Israel and their different views on the situation. And also, first time on the show, excited to talk to presidential candidate in the Democratic primary, Congressman Dean Phillips.
Yes, we'll see how that goes. Before we get to that, though, we have some merry news. Let's go ahead and put this up there on the screen. We are excited to debut our holiday merchandise. So for all of our premium subscribers, this is going to be a limited edition holiday merchandise exclusively available only to the premiums for the entire weekend. We're giving a Black Friday discount currently with 15% off on past merchandise items as well. You can go ahead and check the email that will be at the top of your Supercast Premium email today. It will also be in the description of the YouTube comments and of the premium video and the pinned comment as well. So we have a lot of links there available for everyone. We're bringing back the socks. Personally, I think the sweater is the coolest because it incorporates a lot of cool stuff
the sweater
for
is
them
really
to show.
Cool. Griffin's been working really hard on these guys.
Our
Look
team
at that.
has worked incredibly hard and on all of this. I really do think they did a fantastic job.
Look at those UFOs
on that. I was
on there.
stunned.
Amazing.
I got to buy it for the UFO alone. And we also have the holiday ornament. So if you want to bestow us on your tree, I think it's a cool one.
Deck the halls with breaking points.
That's right. Deck the halls with breaking points. So let us know if you guys like it. Like we said, we've got these available to the premium subscribers only, and then the Black Friday discount as well, which again will be available to you in your Supercast email. So with that, let's get to the show.
And if you want to get great discounts like these, sign up and become
a
premium member.
Become a premium member.
All right, let's get into some serious news here, the very latest coming out of Israel. So, of course, Al-Shifa hospital, which has been sheltering thousands of people, has been under siege for quite a while. They're running low on medical supplies, food, water, et cetera. You had, ran out of electricity, all of those horrifying images of premature babies who had to be taken out of incubators because the incubators could no longer function. So Israel was saying this is where there is a huge command center for Hamas. Yesterday, they released what they said was the evidence that they have found so far in what they described as, the undeniable truth in this initial video. Let's take a look at what they presented.
And what we have found, I think, is only the tip of the iceberg. Let me show you a few examples. Security cameras have been obstructed. All of the security cameras are covered, and this isn't the only one. You'll see the rest of them here. Follow me as we go in, and we will see the MRI center and see the weapons that Hamas has hidden inside. We're now, as you can see, in an MRI room. I don't know when this was used the last time. But it is definitely an MRI machine. And if you follow me behind the MRI machine, I'll show you what our troops exposed just minutes ago. In military terms, this is a grab bag, grab and go of a Hamas combatant. And if you zoom in and we get some light over here, what you will be able to see is military equipment. And when our troops open this closet here, which is in the main part of the clinic, this is what they found. These weapons have absolutely no business being inside a hospital. Before we go on, let's have a look at what we found inside the very same cabinet that houses medical equipment. You can see all kinds of standard military medical stuff. We found another go-to bag, this bag here. And again, we opened it up in order to make sure that it's safe to touch and show. So please don't give me any of that. You opened it up and you placed it there. This is the bag that we found. And this is the stuff that was in it. Now, There's insignia, military insignia, a knife. For those of you who read Arabic, you'll be able to understand what it says here. But it's Hamas, the military wing, Kataib al-Qassam, of course a vest with equipment, and as always, an AK-47.
Okay, so in addition, they released a few photographs. Let's put those up on the screen as well. These were shared by Eric Toller. He's the one who does the visual investigations at the New York Times. His commentary is noteworthy. He says the IDF just released their first photos and videos from the Shifa hospital after last night's raid. I count 10 guns. The IDF has claimed that the beating heart of Hamas's operations is beneath Shifa. Presumably, they will release more photos and videos. Can go ahead and put the next one up on the screen. You see some firearms arranged on a table alongside what appears to be a large box of dates. Very important that no one have access to those dates. Those could be very dangerous, Saagar.
Well, bad dates. I keep making the Indiana Jones joke. Eventually, somebody will laugh at it. Other than you.
All right, so this is so far what they've presented to us, and I think it's important that we remember the way that they pitched why this operation was so necessary. Because remember, typically hospitals are totally off limits in war. It requires extraordinary circumstances to justify even this raid, let alone, you know, the sniper fire inside of the hospital, et cetera. So go ahead and put this up on the screen. This was the original computer animation that they presented weeks ago to start to build the case for why they had to go in. You see this elaborate tunnel network. It sort of looks like Dr. Evil's lair or something like that. They were really selling this as this is the beating heart of Hamas HQ. Put this next piece up on the screen here. This is how our own John Kirby, National Security Council spokesperson, said the day before this raid, in order to effectively justify the raid on the hospital. He said, now in the hospitals, I can confirm for you that we have information, me in the U.S., that Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad used some hospitals in the Gaza Strip, including Al-Shifa, had tunnels underneath them to conceal and to support their military operations and to hold hostages. Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad members operate a command and control node from Al-Shifa in Gaza City. They have stored weapons there, and they are prepared to respond to an Israeli military operation against that facility. And he went on to clarify that information related specifically to Al-Shifa. So Saagar, in advance, we were told command and control node. We were told elaborate underground tunnel network and bunkers. We were told Hamas would be there ready to respond. Expectations of some big firefight within the hospital. That did not unfold. And even expectations that there would be potentially some hostages being held there. So far, all we've got is a few guns that they claim they found while investigating.
Yeah, let's go ahead and put this up there on the screen. Barak Ravid, reporting from Israeli sources, quote, a senior Israeli official now says that the purpose of the IDF operation wasn't to rescue hostages, but to locate and expose a Hamas tunnels hub that connects the hospital with other parts of the Gaza Strip. And so this is where things are starting to get into dicey territory for Israel. Because, let's go ahead and put this up there on the screen, as you said, they previously had said that the entrance is a symbol that there's no place we will not reach. And now they have to walk back and say, we did not think that we would find hostages, but we will now definitely locate and dismantle Hamas capabilities. The target in Al-Shifa is the tunnels that are underneath the hospital. So as of right now, they haven't released any footage yet of the hospitals. And this is going to be a difficult situation if Israel is not able to produce more evidence, because their level of intelligence that they presented to the world with that animation was that they knew the exact, I mean, you all just saw it. We just showed it to you about where each bunker was. One of the reasons why they may even have knowledge of the bunker system is because the Israelis actually built one of those bunkers in the 1980s. And they alleged that it had been expanded on by Hamas, post 1983 onward into expanding their tunnel network. One of the other reasons also is that much of the bombing campaign has been, if you overlay where the majority of the airstrikes are with past maps that the Israelis have revealed about where the tunnel network is, you can see they're almost exactly one-to-one. The problem is if they're not able to prove the existence of the the command node, the center of this tunnel network, it's going to call into question almost every piece of intelligence that they have presented now since. There also appears to now be a bit of a walk back from the White House House. Let's put this up there. After John Kirby had said that, we'd have intelligence that says that there was some sort of command center inside of the hospital, or at least he said a Hamas presence, I believe is what he said. Now he says, quote, we didn't give an okay.
He said a command node.
There you go, command node. We didn't give an okay for the Israeli operation in Al-Shifa hospital. Kirby added that the U.S. does not expect Israel to update it in advance about military operations in Gaza. So kind of a bizarre bit of a walk back, I think, that was happening. So the context for all of this right now is that Israel's on a clock. And I would say if in the next 72 hours, if they don't release a video of like a pretty massive tunnel with a ton of video conferencing equipment and bomb stockpiles and all the other things that you would expect in some sort of so-called terrorist headquarters, then it's not a good look. I guess we could just put it that way.
Yeah,
it's not a good look.
Even if you accept that they found these guns in their search, which given what we know about previous Israeli propaganda is a real open question, let's just say, even if you accept that, this was not what was sold in terms of what this hospital represented to Hamas. And Ryan Grimm pointing out online that there are many American householders that have a larger arsenal than what was presented in these photographs. Something like the top 15% of American gun owners have more than the 10 guns that were presented in these pictures. So again, listen, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And, a few weapons caches that you claim you found when you were going through the MRI room, et cetera, does not even come close to justifying this assault on this hospital. So I'll give you their side of the story. This is from the New York Times this morning. We don't have an element for this because this just came up. Their write-up, they say a day after the Israeli military took control of Gaza's largest hospital, soldiers on Thursday afternoon were still combing the site that Israel has said concealed a secret Hamas base, but had yet to present much evidence supporting that claim to the public. An Israeli military spokesman said that the search of the hospital grounds would take time because, quote, Hamas knew we were coming and had made off with or hidden traces of their presence there. Now, again, Saagar, as you're pointing out, that is also at odds with the presentation of how deep their intelligence knowledge of Al-Shifa hospital was. They had sent photographs to news outlets claiming they pinpointed exactly the entrances to the Hamas tunnels. They knew exactly where to go. That doesn't exactly square up with now we're, 2 days in and still saying, well, we haven't really found it yet. We're still looking. Now, listen, they very well
probably did know. Yeah, I mean, they obviously knew.
They very well may present additional evidence, and we will evaluate that as it comes in. But so far, pretty lackluster display of what they allegedly found when they raided the hospital.
One of the reasons I actually believe the arms and all that is that there would be no reason to present such a paltry amount that you have.
Well, I gotta show something.
Well, that's what I mean, though, is you at least just scrounge up. I mean, it's also not unbelievable to have that those types of arms and all that, because obviously there was battles, inside of the hospital. At the very least, we know there was at least firefight, coming in. It's not difficult.
There wasn't firefighting inside the hospital.
Well, sorry,
it was outside.
It was outside. You could at least believe, though, that Hamas clearly had a presence, inside the hospital. I don't think that's outside the realm of possibility at all. The claim they made is as a command center, and so that's why I'm like, well, okay. I actually want to say one thing, though. We should all note this. The death toll from when they actually stormed the hospital was very low. And this highlights something that I have been trying to say here now for a long time. One of the problems with the Israeli tactics on all of this is that when you have boots on the ground, you can discern whether one person is a civilian and one person is not. You can't do that whenever you're dropping a bomb in one of the most crowded areas in the world. And so this, I actually think, vindicates ground operations, specifically in this scenario where you have a huge civilian population. You have to be able to separate them from the militants. Again, I've been doing a lot of reading about the way that the U.S. operated all throughout Afghanistan and Iraq. And around 2012 and 2013, American special operations became so good that they, again, you saw it in the bin Laden raid. You can go into a house which is full of like 50 or 60 women and children. You're only going to kill the 4 people who are military aged with guns in their hand, and then the people who tried to shoot back at you, and keep everybody else safe. That is the exact reason Obama didn't drop a bomb on the compound, to avoid any of the scenario where we're like, well, we'll never know, and then you blow up the evidence. This is one of those where they went in and they killed him. And this, I actually think, again, validates why, yes, you are going to take probably more casualties and more, but we didn't see a great massacre at the hospital. And that is, in terms of their raid at the very least, That's what you would want if you are Israel. Now, the bigger problem is that if they can't come up with the goods, is if you are going to go to the extraordinary lengths now of not only taking the hospital, but sending all these guys in, and the bombing campaign that preceded the encircling of all of that, and the tanks, and the death that surrounds that, and then you can't come up with evidence, that's going to be very, very, very problematic for them in the eyes of the world.
Absolutely, as it should be, because for weeks now, they've been building this case as like, this is the center of what we're aiming towards. I mean, all of the ground operations surrounding Gaza City, it was like, this is the granddaddy of the operation. We're trying to get to Al-Shifa Hospital. And so, you know, first of all, it seems like it may have been unnecessary to completely bomb and destroy all of Gaza City. Haaretz out with an op-ed this morning talking about how Gaza City is basically completely uninhabitable right now already because of the widespread nature of the bombing campaign and the extent of the destruction, just, you know, indiscriminate across the entire city. But we know why. Well, there's a few reasons why they took this approach. One of them is that they don't want any casualties on their side. They really want to completely minimize any risk. And if that means killing more Palestinians and destroying more of Gaza City, then that's what they're going to do. But I also think very telling, that piece we put up earlier, which we could actually put back up on the screen, A6, where you have this Hebrew language news outlet that spoke with a senior Israeli official who admitted, like, no, the reason we're going to Al-Shifa is because it's a symbol that there is no place we will not reach. I think that is so telling as to the real goals of this operation based on the military tactics from the beginning. I saw another report, Saagar, saying, like, again, it was kind of like cope after not really actually finding any Hamas militants there, after there not being a firefight inside the hospital, which was something that even John Kirby had previewed, like, oh, we think that they're ready to respond militarily from inside the hospital. That didn't happen. Finding no hostages there, et cetera. It was, well, we expected that Hamas had already moved to the south. We expected that they were already gone from here. It's like, well, why didn't you say that beforehand, number one? And number two, you've been telling everybody to go to the south, and now you're saying, okay, well, I guess if your goal is really to eradicate Hamas, which I would argue that is not their goal. Their goal is, you know, to just have indiscriminate destruction, as the IDF spokesperson himself said. Then, you know, why have you sent everybody to the south and claim that they're going to be safe if this is the next phase of the operation?
I don't know. I mean, listen, we can't put ourselves in the head. We can only read like what they're doing. I would say, I'm not really sure, Krystal, that the goal is just necessarily indiscriminate. I would say that they're basically just willing to pull the trigger in a scenario where the vast majority of Western militaries would not do so. As in, you know, the bar for action with the United States. I mean, you can even actually compare the U.S. I remember I covered this at the time, the Kunduz Hospital. This was a big deal, if you'll recall. It was 2015. The city of Kunduz was retaken by the Taliban. The U.S. Special Operations and Afghans got into a crazy firefight with the Taliban, and a Doctors Without Borders hospital, actually in Kunduz, was bombed. And there was a massive outcry. The U.S. did a full investigation. Initially, there were claims that there were Taliban fighters inside of the hospital. That was the justification. And Barack Obama had to publicly issue an apology to Doctors Without Borders. Now, I'm just comparing, like, look at the way that the U.S. fought war versus now the Israelis. And I think they're very much, learning this exact same problematic lessons I talked about with this Ryan. They're in their 2003 shock and awe phase, where basically it's like free fire, you can do what you want, and overwhelming firepower and all of that. But they're going to learn real quick. This hospital could be a lesson for them, and they'll probably eventually get to the point where we were. Although the irony is that we already did that. You know, you could already read and see all of the lessons for that if you want. But you mentioned the the new Southern campaign that could be opening up. So why don't we move on to that?
Yeah, I would just say that you can judge by the actions. You can also judge by their words. IDF spokesperson Daniel Hagari said the emphasis is on damage, not accuracy. And I think that is very clear in the campaign that they have been waging here. Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.